Sid would come to the rink every day, and the way that he would prepare, the way that he would be so focused when the drill was being drawn up. He would be the first guy in line, and he would set the tone to every single drill. And if the level wasn't at the level, he would be barking.
You were a part of the organization right at the start of the Crosby, Gino, Letang, Flower.
Yeah.
Can you in the organization, in the building, could you see that was coming?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of like, I'm sure that you dealt with Tom. That was my first experience with playing with a guy who was obsessed with the game. And Sid would come to the rink every day, and the way that he would prepare, the way that he would be so focused when the drill was being drawn up. He would be the first guy in line, and he would set the tone to every single drill. And if the level wasn't at the level, he would be barking. And even if I was the second guy in line, Gino, Evgeni Malkin, he'd come in and he'd be like, Biz, back in line. We're fucking setting the tone. So to watch Evgeni Malkin, Crosby, Marc-André Fleury, who's still playing, all of them are playing. It's crazy. Letang, and the enthusiasm they also brought to the rink, you just knew that it was just a matter of time before they hoisted the cup and really saved the team from probably moving. So, but
they were going to move the Penguins. Don't they love the Penguins in Pittsburgh?
It was just a dark time, right? Like it was
like isn't that like one of the most historic?
Because of Mario and Yager and what they'd done. But, unfortunately they were reaching their dog days. Mario was retiring, and that lottery ball where they won and they got Sidney Crosby changed it all. And then the following year they got Malkin, and actually the year before that, it was my draft when they ended up picking Marc-André Fleury at number 1 overall. So they were fortunate enough to get those spots in the draft, but they didn't. Yeah, Jordan Stahl was huge. He was a great third-line center for them at a young age when they ended up winning it. So it was just the perfect time. And actually, what was cool about it, the year that I was drafted was 2003, and I got to go to training camp where it was one of Mario's, if not his last year. So I got to do training camp with Mario Lemieux and share the ice with him. I was so fucking nervous. I was in his group in training camp. And I'll never forget, we were doing this easy drill where the defenseman rounds the net. And at this time I was still a D, and all you had to do was hit the winger along the wall. It was a 15-foot fucking pass. And I rounded the net, and it was Mario, and I missed him by about 20 feet. And they had to blow down the drill, and we had to restart. And I was so embarrassed.
Did he say anything like, "What's up, kid"?
No. He was so cool about it. And, it was Eddie Olczyk was the coach at the time. And so thankfully the next time I did it, I hit his tape. But I'll never forget, he must have had a golf match after the practice, and we didn't have the scrimmage that day. So normally you bag skate when you don't. You know what a bag skate is? End of practice, like liners. Up, no pucks, just conditioning.
Yeah, liners.
And Edzo was our coach at the time.
Again.
He was like, all right, boys, great practice, great pace today. We're just going to do a little skate. And then Mario's like, hey, and he's like, gives it no, we're good. And the Edzo's like, great practice today, boys. Enjoy yourselves. Play rebound if you want, and have a great day. And that was like, I was like, what? Like, I'd never seen anything like that. And just Mario's aura and seeing him around was just like something I'll never forget. So my time in Pittsburgh, as much as it was in the minors and even the ECHL, I was just grateful to spend that little time around those legends.
You got to be around some fucking legends.
I'll never forget.
You're still around legend. You're a legend.
So the Evgeni Malkin, that was the year. I want to say he might have won the Conn Smythe first year.
He won the Hart too, I think.
Yeah, he was just on fire. And when you do an entry-level contract in the NHL, you're able to get bonuses. So that following training camp, I was still on the team, and we're riding the bike, and then this Frank Bonomo, who was like the PR guy, he comes off and drops an envelope, and you could see once he opened it, Evgeni Malkin's face lit up, and I was like, what's going on over there? And he handed it over, and it was like a $1 million check that he'd gotten for all his bonuses. And I was playing in the A at the time, making peanuts, and I just like, I'll never forget. And I think a few days later, his 911 Porsche showed up. Like, this guy is just zipping around town. No way a cop would pull him over because they probably knew it was Gino. So just living legends and a silly time in my life.
Oh my God.
Were you ever around when his parents would show up?
I was not there, but that was when the iconic series that he had against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, that backhanded goal.
When he had the hat trick that game and he scored that wraparound goal, he went around the net and then he just like did like a spinorama backhand top cheese, and his mom's crying in the stands and everybody's like chanting Gino, Gino. And yeah, I actually, unfortunately, I was in the A at the time then, and we were in playoffs. And I got hit ass over tea kettle. So I had a guy hit me low and high. And it just so happens the guy who hit me high, he stepped on my wrist. And so I was in getting surgery because it cut my like tendons and my nerves.
You could die that way.
Oh.
They say usually if you want to kill yourself, slit your wrists.
But I got up and I saw the person in the front row. So we were in a playoff series against the Hershey Bears. And their NHL team was the Washington Capitals. And Pittsburgh was playing Washington in the second round. That was always the biggest rivalry. It was Ovi and Sid, where they would have hat trick games, and it would go to game 7. It was like so good for the game. These guys carried the league forever. And so I was in the A, I got my wrist stepped on, and I got up, and I could see the people in the front row grabbing their mouth, being like, oh my God. And I had blood on my jersey. So I'm like patting my head, looking at my hand, like, what's bleeding? And then I look at my other hand and it just squirting out blood. Oh. And we had a medic on the team who'd went to like I forget what war it was. Like one of them.
Desert Storm?
Yes. Yeah. One of those where that was like the least of what he'd seen. So fortunately I went down the tunnel with a thread and needle. He closed it off. I was able to get to the hospital and they shipped me off to Pittsburgh. So I was there for that series for a couple games. When they were playing against Washington, that was that iconic series. So
dueling hat trick game?
The dueling hat trick, I want to say, was in Washington, but I was watching it on a TV when I was in Pittsburgh. And then they ended up coming back to Pittsburgh for, I think it was like game 6 or something like that. So just a crazy time to be in the Pittsburgh organization.
What was the energy like in the old igloo?
The igloo was unbelievable, and the acoustics were perfect. As shitty as the dressing rooms were, and whatever the facility, who gave a fuck? It was iconic, and I didn't care just because of the vibe in that arena. It was awesome. Sucks they had to tear it down, but I don't like the way they build these new rinks. There's not enough character, in my opinion. I like when they do them a little different.
Jeez.
But yeah, I know we kind of got off the rails there from this.
Thank you for humoring me. You're the first Penguin on our show. We're almost at 100 episodes, so thank you.
Yeah, no, it was, like I said,
he's
very
from
blessed.
Massachusetts, and the guy's a Penguins fan.
I like the animal, and my parents like spent some time in Pittsburgh. They lived in Sewickley for a little bit.
Yep.
And
that's where Sid lives.
Mario, and it was Yager. My number growing up was
so you grew up rich.
I was in the middle.
Yeah, Mario was another guy just like Gretzky, where they would have been very close in points if he stayed healthy and he didn't deal with the cancer and the back issues. And like Mario was just badass, man. He would show up. Like I don't know how much training he was doing in the off season,
ripping heaters.
He'd be ripping heaters and fucking go out there like 2 goals, 2 assists. Like it was easy. How big of a legend are you?
I see it a lot with these hockey guys, man. I went out. I just remember going out with you guys, and you guys would have a game the next day. I would be in like off-season training, like stressing, like, man, I'm not gonna be able to run tomorrow for team run. These guys go out and fucking play hockey the next day, be dialed.
Savages.